All right, we are back. Bulls 101. Chris Amundsen. I'm here with Laro Golden. We have the wonderful Darnell Mayberry on earlier today, and we got his interview that we're going to play for you guys. He was wonderful. Gave us more time than he should have, and it was really awesome. And then Laro, after the interview, we've got some tape to break down for two of our favorite guys.
Oh yeah, we're gonna have Daniel Tice. We're gonna have a little tape on him, and we're gonna have some tape on TBJ. He hasn't got that many minutes, but I still think there's some things that we can talk about in terms of what he can contribute to this team when he does get minutes. So
yeah, I agree with you. I'm excited to get into it with you. But first, let's have the interview for you guys, and stick around, and we'll be back to talk about film. Here's the interview. All right, Laro, now for the main event of the podcast, and that's Darnell Mayberry of The Athletic. He covers the Chicago Bulls and one of the best in the business, so he's kindly agreed to join us for a few minutes tonight. So, Darnell, welcome to Bulls 101. How are you doing today?
Good, fellas. I appreciate y'all having me on.
Man, this is dope, man.
One of the people I really wanted to have on the show, I've been following The Athletic and subscribing to it for, I think, 5 or 6 years now. I started back when Stephen Noe and Will Gottlieb were writing for the Bulls. And then you made the move from Oklahoma over to here. And I've loved your work. I know it's a big leap. And we appreciate you in Chicago. I know a lot of people follow you. And if you guys that are watching are not following Darnell or The Athletic, please subscribe. It's worth every penny. I will say that. There's so much coverage for every sport that you want, every team that you want. It's great to see the national stuff, the local stuff. Definitely worth going to.
Yeah, man. For me, man, I'm someone that played a lot of ball, and I didn't really get into like reading articles and things like that until I'm 20. My bad. I'm 30 now. I'm 30. I started probably reading articles around when I was like 22 and just really like diving in and understanding that other people can see the game too, because I was kind of one of those guys, like, I'm pretty sure you hear it all the time, like they didn't, whatever, they don't know the game, blah blah blah, like I played at a high level or something, which I didn't. I just played in high school ball, you know what I mean? And I started to like really digest it and understand that these guys are seeing the game at a great perspective as well. They know what they're talking about. They've been around the game for a long time, so I really started to dive in and really read some articles. I mean, I was reading Mark Shanowski, I was reading Joe Kelly, I was reading, a bunch of people, and then I came across you. And honestly, man, it's great stuff, man. You do a really good job of articulating things that, for someone like myself that loves the game, like, it's just a fun read every single time. You know what I mean? And I appreciate you, and I'm happy you're on, man. I'm happy you came through, and we can chop it up a little bit.
No, I appreciate that, guys. I like to tell the longtime fans of the team and followers of the team that you guys are who I write for. I try to ask questions to Billy Donovan and to Arturas Karnisovas and Mark Eversley that the fans of the team want to know, the people who don't have that access. And so I'm only there as a conduit for the people who really are diehard fans of this organization, this franchise. And I know I follow Chris on Twitter, and I love his tweets. And I didn't even know who he was, but I'm like, man, this guy is a smart fan. Like, he's a smart fan follower of this team. And so that's how that happened. So it's a pleasure to join you guys, man.
That means a lot, Darnell. When I got that follow, I texted Larry. I was like, dude.
He definitely did. And I did the same thing once I saw it on my phone. I was like, Chris, me too. I got it.
It was funny because every once in a while I'll drop in the comment section of The Athletic and try and drop some knowledge on some people. You got some funny people commenting on the Athletic articles. You have one guy I want to ask you about. There's one guy that comments on every article. His name's Daryl, I think.
Yeah.
He's always trying to chop it up with you. It's pretty funny. You can tell he's biased one way. He doesn't like Wendell Carter Jr., really likes Lowry. But it's funny to get the you get the interaction from the fans all the time. So we always try not to be annoying.
I'm so glad we're behind the Wendell Carter Jr. debate, and soon we might be behind the Larry Markkinen debate.
I think you're right.
There's a debate anymore.
Yeah, it's been a year of revelations for us for sure for this team. Before we get into this year, I wanted to kind of go back before you got to Chicago. You were working for the Oklahoman for how many years?
12 years.
12 years.
Yep.
So listen, we got a picture of back when you were working there. So we wanted to see, do you recognize this man?
Yep. Let me tell y'all what that's about. All right, because I look silly, but I told myself that I was gonna try to let my hair lock up before I had to let it go, and as you see, I had to let it go. But that was me giving it one last shot before I knew the inevitable was coming, and so I said, if it's now or never, and if I don't try this now, then I ain't never gonna be able to try it. So that's why I'm looking silly right there. But I mean, you couldn't tell me nothing back then. I thought I was the back looked
you're
good,
on TV.
though. The front I was struggling with. The back looked
No, it would look like it was real full in the back. Yeah.
It was. Yeah, y'all got to see it from the back, but whatever.
Darnell, I'm working on it. Like I feel it every day. The forehead starts moving back into the head, and you gotta do what you can as long as you can.
Happens.
It happens to all of us. I think Laro's good for a little while. He's got the beard to compensate. I don't have anything like that. So,
but you know what though, man? It's I'm starting to get the gray, and I don't know, man. I don't know, like Stacy. I might have to get the Beijing or something, man. I don't know. I might have to get on my Carlos Boozer for a little bit, but
not the Boozer. Come on now.
But you know what though, Darnell, though, we want to have fun with you, man. We don't want you to come on this show and be like, man, this is just one of those, so we want to have fun with you, man. I don't know if you can tell by that picture, but we were kind of looking for some stuff to kind of just like let you know, like, man, we don't have to be all like, you can chop it up with us, you know what I mean? So
as soon as he said we found a picture, I knew what was happening. I already knew. I'm like, there's evidence of me having ugly ass locks out there somewhere. And I've seen them. It's all good though. Like I said, man, I don't want to live with regret. So
I don't blame you, brother.
I had to give it a shot.
So let me ask you something, because we were watching a video of you talking about the draft where Derrick Rose went number 1.
Yeah.
Right? And you were talking about how he was a great Kirk Hinrich upgrade at the time. And you were kind of going through it, and at the time talking about the Sonics as well. But I wanted to go further back. Like, what was the Oklahoma your first job in covering an NBA team, and what if anything got you into the profession in the first place?
So I mean, I started in Akron, Ohio. I wanted to be a sports writer. I wanted to be on television. Actually, I wanted to be on Sports Center anchor. But the path for me, someone advised me a long time ago to learn how to write, and you can always go and do television later. And sure enough, you've seen a lot of writers go into television over the last 15, 20 years or so. And, that was kind of what the path, that was the goal for me. But then I just fell in love with writing. And so to answer your question, I started in Akron, Ohio, doing preps and recruiting and University of Akron men's basketball, and then got hired at the Oklahoman. And when the Hornets just happened to have to relocate there because of Hurricane Katrina, way back in 2005. So Chris Paul's rookie year, his first 2 seasons that were played primarily in Oklahoma, that was my first experience covering an NBA team. And then obviously there was a year off before the Sonics became the Thunder in Oklahoma City, and then I just transitioned into that role with the Oklahoman covering the Thunder.
Man, that's so dope, man. How was it like before I ask my question? But like, how was it covering like KD and James and them boys back then? Like, how was it, man? Was it anything like the drama we deal with Wendell and and Gafford, or you know what I mean? Like,
Man, yeah, no, those guys were they were young,
mm-hmm.
they were hungry, they were obviously dedicated to their craft and wanted to be the best players that they could be. They weren't superstars for the most part at the time, you know, when they were all together and coming up. KD more than the other two. Jeff Green was actually a bigger star back then than James Harden and Russell Westbrook early on, not when Harden was the sixth man of the year. But, you know, it was fun, man. I mean, the thing that I remember most is they would just go into games when they really got good. They would just go into games. You would go in every night knowing, okay, they're going to win. They're going to win by 5, 10, 15. Like, it wasn't a question that they were going to win games, and that's how serious they became quickly in their careers about winning and building good habits and doing things the right way in order to chase a championship. And that's the thing that I really remember and really miss, because, you know, here with the Bulls, I just haven't seen that since I've been here, and it's unfortunate because I know this is a great basketball city when the Bulls are a winner.
No doubt. But my question is, I actually saw a tweet from Jamal Collier about how he listens to D'Angelo before he starts writing. My question is to you.
He didn't say that. Did he say that?
Yeah, he put a picture up. He said, before I start writing, this is what I listen to. You know what I mean? But like, is there a song or anything that you like to do before you get into your grind of putting a pen to the paper, or like, how do you go about it?
Nah, I'm a big procrastinator, so
I am too.
A man after my own heart.
Yeah, I need if y'all got any tips, let me know, because it's hard for me. Like, writing doesn't come easy, and it's a struggle. I think most writers will say the same thing, but for me, it really is a major struggle. And if I don't sit there and feel it, like, I can't write it. And
right.
I hate that I'm that way, but I do take pride in the fact that generally, I'm not always, because there's sometimes you just got to put stuff out, but generally, whatever I put my name behind, I take pride in. I tried my best. I try to give, 100% in whatever I write and put out there for our audience. So I need a process, though, man, because maybe that will help. Maybe I need to turn on some D'Angelo.
Hey, man, you never know. Yours might be a Vine. You know what I mean? Something. I don't know. Joe Case. You never know, man. I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't know what you like, brother.
Jill Scott funny. And Erykah Badu would probably be my
go-to. Okay.
Yeah, they would be my go-to.
That's nice.
Yeah,
that's nice.
You mentioned something, Darnell, that you kind of have to be passionate about what you want to write about, or else, the pen doesn't really start writing for you. And I think, and you said that whatever you put your name behind, you really feel kind of proud of. It's yours, and you can sign it that way. And I feel that when I read your writing versus a lot of the writers. I mean, nothing against any of the beat writers. They're all doing their craft. They're all doing their jobs. And as you said, you have to kind of put stuff out on a timely basis, even if you're not feeling it. But I can tell those articles that you really put a lot of work into, and we appreciate them a lot. There was one actually that I was thinking of, because every once in a while you'll write something that kind of goes against the grain of what we're hearing. And one of the early ones was preseason this year, when there was an announcement that Patrick Williams was going to end up in the starting lineup. And we were wondering, okay, who's he replacing? And a lot of people thought it might be Otto. And you wrote an article saying you think it should be Lauri Markkanen that he replaces, that Pat should start at the 4 and Lauri should come off the bench. And I thought that was an interesting article at the time, because at the time it was, Lauri had just failed to reach an extension, and, it was like a prove it year for him. And so I wanted to ask you about that article. Like, what led you to that decision at the time? Because I think it was something I had thought about. But I was like, I don't know if I want to put that out there yet. And then I see the article you dropped, and it was exactly what I was hoping for.
Yeah, the only thing is, and you might know the timeline better than I do, but I think I wrote that before those rumblings were even out there. Maybe, and maybe I'm wrong on that, but I just think Laurie I mean, I haven't seen it. I think, just from following you guys on Twitter, I think you guys are pretty much aligned with where I am in that regard. I just haven't seen it, and I don't want to hijack it and turn it into a Laurie marketing discussion if that's not where you're going with it. But Pat's clearly the future, and for the Bulls to do so much to have to placate Laurie Markkinen and then not have his future secured, it didn't make a lot of sense. Pat can play the four, has thrived at times playing the four. Mm-hmm. From a roster construction standpoint, if you're looking at the long view, the long-term approach, I just think it makes a whole lot more sense for the Bulls to move forward with Pat Williams either manning the four or being a hybrid between the two forward spots, and letting Markkinen walk, and then going out and trying to spend that money, spend those resources on other wing help. So, I just thought it made sense at the time. And, look, when it comes to my takes, and I try not to have a whole lot of hot takes these days. Back in my OKC days, I was the king of them, but I've tried to mellow out a little bit. And but whenever I say something, man, I stand by it. I don't, like it, love it, hate it, disagree with it, agree with it, whatever. I embrace it all, and I'm not afraid to put myself out there if I believe in something.
That kind of leads to a quick follow-up, which is, as a writer, there's a certain level of professionalism or objectivity, if you will, rather than fandom. And so how do you balance maybe, writing your own opinions versus trying to, have that balance with objectivity, or maintaining relationships within, your professional, like the franchise, for example. Like you've written stuff on Jim Boylan that was, I would say, some more positive things, some more encouraging things. And then when Jim Boylan got fired eventually, that article that you wrote was you just unloaded on all the stuff that I think maybe you'd had over that period of time. But how do you balance that between the objectivity and the, what you're seeing sometimes that may be affecting relationships if we were to put it out there?
I mean, I don't work for the Bulls. I don't work for the NBA. I work for a media outlet that people are paying a subscription fee to get information. So if I'm not serving our audience, then I'm not doing my job. And whoever doesn't like it with the NBA, the Bulls, the organization in any capacity, I can't control that. I'm not concerned about that. I do have to, as you said, walk a fine line between maintaining relationships and doing my job, but my job comes first. Our audience comes first. And as long as I'm telling the truth, being accurate and being fair, and serving our audience, if I'm doing those three things, then I don't care who likes it.
Boom. I respect that 100%. One of my questions was, like, for me, hearing that you came from Oklahoma and you just basically took everything that you known, everything that you were used to, and you said, you know what, I'm scrapping it and I'm going to Chicago and I'm going to try to get it done. You know what I mean?
Right.
And so my question is, like, because I've done that before. Like, I just picked up and left to go live in Boston, and that's hard, even just for somebody that's not expected to come out with great pieces every now and then to give information. I was just basically moving to get away, to try some different things, So my question was, like, how does it feel to be such a strong role model for the youth in Chicago, especially for the African American youth in the city? Because I believe that people like yourself are just what we need to see more. Because I think a lot of times, especially here, I can only speak on what I know. It's rap, it's NBA, it's NFL, and that's it. And I think somebody like yourself that is so successful with doing something that a lot of people think they can't do. Like yourself, you said that you procrastinate, writing doesn't come easy to you. So you've basically you're proving to me that I can do it if I really put myself into it. You know what I mean? So that was inspiration to me, because oh man, I feel like I have those things. I it's hard for me to write, but even that moment, I was like, wow, Darnell is the man. You know what I mean? So how do you feel about that? Because I know a lot of people that I've talked to that look up to you, that are trying to write and get into things like that.
No, I appreciate that, man. I will say that coming from Oklahoma City, covering the Thunder when I did, I was a big fish in a small pond there. Here, you've got established veteran writers like Sam Smith, Casey Johnson. I mean, there's no even who Chris mentioned. I was following in the footsteps of Will Gottlieb and Stephen Noe at the Athletic, and those guys have a way of seeing things and analyzing things that I'm not gifted with. And so, it was a challenge. And I did feel at times how am I going to come in here and leave my mark and get people to understand that, I am worth subscribing to the Athletic for Bulls coverage if you're a Bulls fan. And that was a little bit of a difficult transition. But I mean, you just got to be confident. You got to be confident in who you are and what you can bring to the table, the relationships that you can develop, the relationships that have been developed throughout my career. It's not like I was coming in without any experience whatsoever in the NBA. I mean, I had covered the league for quite a while, so that helped. And then at the Athletic, I mean, they give us such freedom to do the job the way we want to do it. I just give them a lot of credit for enabling us to be able to do the job the way we see fit.
So speaking
Am I answering your question, Larry? Did that answer your...
No, that was dope, man. That was exactly what I needed to hear, man.
I know part of it was, talking about being a mentor and that sort of thing. I know I didn't address that, but I hope I answered your question.
No, it did, man, because honestly, I think a lot of people are one of the great things I think Twitter is there for. A lot of people abuse it and do dumb stuff, no doubt. But I think one of the greatest things that Twitter allows someone like myself to do is to be able to reach out to people that, like yourself, Stephen Noe, or whoever you want to talk about, Sam Smith, and ask them questions. Some people will answer, some people won't. But the people that will answer, usually what the information they give you is gold. I know. Do you know Jabari Young? He used to cover this San Antonio Spurs.
Yeah, that's my man.
I bring this up. I told Chris about this story. I was coming up. I wanted to be a writer. I loved writing, and I just didn't know how to go about it. So I'm going through Twitter. I'm like, okay, you know what? Let me give it a shot. Maybe. So hit him up. For sure enough, he sent me an email back like, man, hey Larry, whatever you need, man, let me know. And I told him my whole you dig, and he sent me a voice memo back and was amazing, man. Told me about his background, how he worked part-time as an executive producer, and also worked at a car dealership, taking the garbage out, and he never lost that passion, for it. And then before him, I don't know if you know Jimmy Spencer. He used to be a senior editor, I believe, for the NBA.com.
I know his name.
Now he works with Uninterrupted, I think.
Okay.
I think. But he also was another person that reached out, that I reached out to. And that stuff, I think a lot of people are maybe afraid to do it or afraid they'll get rejected, so they don't do it. But I'm appreciative of people like yourself that do open yourselves up and give advice. I think that's amazing, man. So I do appreciate what you said, honestly.
No doubt.
So listen, I had a follow up here because we love your writing on the Athletic. But why aren't you in the podcast game? What's going on here? we want to hear you.
Again, I was the king of hot takes in OKC. And you know what? That a podcast can really only get me in trouble, frankly. because I can't. I have no choice but to call it how I see it. Whether you agree with me or disagree with me, I'm going to call it how I see it. And there's a lot of people who aren't going to like that. Whether it's readers, people who comment on the Athletic, uh, the players, coaches, front office executives. And when I get in a free flowing conversation, kind of like what we're in now, I have a tendency to have a lot less of a filter than I do when I'm writing. And that can get me into trouble. And so I got to be careful of that. So there's that. There's also there's a ton of Bulls podcasts out there, ton of really good Bulls podcasts out there too. And just getting in that whole lane just feels like it has to be the right thing for me. And if it's not the right thing, if it's not, again, it's kind of like what I write. If I'm not feeling it, I'm not going to go into it half-hearted because it's not going to work.
Gotcha.
I did do a podcast back in, not that you guys care about this, back in the Thunder days, and it was probably one of the most popular podcasts, if not the most popular. I did it with my guy Anthony Slater. We called it Thunder Buddies, based off the movie with Mark Wahlberg. What was the name of that movie? Ted.
Oh yeah.
So I mean, it was a really popular podcast, and we had a lot of chemistry. We had a lot of fun doing it, and it was kind of at a time where the podcast game was really getting started and really starting to blow up and explode. So it's something that has been, people have talked to me about, but I'm just not, for various reasons, I'm just not there yet.
Well, I'm gonna have to go find that. I'm gonna have to go find it. You know what I mean? So I could hit these hot takes.
Yeah, they're out there. The other thing is, man, it's like I kind of got a sweet little gig at the Athletic. I don't need to be out there spouting out my opinions and like ruining my reputation. Just, I would have been saying some stuff about Larry Markkinen about a year and a half ago that people would not have liked. So stuff like that is just, I probably better off keeping my mouth shut.
I mean, even on a smaller scale, like if I tweet something about Lowry or do a clip, I get people come, why don't you show a clip about, Zach, and why don't you show a clip about Pat Williams? He messed up a bunch of times. Why, I'm like, oh. So yeah, man, I feel you on that, brother.
There's a reason that the saying is never read the comments. There's a reason for it, and whether it's on the internet. Now, as you said, Darnell, when you write something, you can go through drafts before you publish it and put it out there. Whereas if it's on a podcast like this or a show, it's live, it's unfiltered, you can't go back and edit it. The internet's forever. And so I understand you may think, hey, but I got a great job right now. I don't want to jeopardize it by putting up hot takes, and I can only hurt myself here. So I get it. I understand. I'm just saying we would appreciate it at some point.
Yeah.
But we'll have you on the show as much as you want to spout as many hot takes as you'd like. Anytime you want to say something, you just let me know, and we'll have you on again.
There are times when I got some stuff I want to get off my chest. Believe me.
Oh, come on, brother.
Let's talk about this team. Let's talk about this team this year. So we went in, AK and Eversley came in April of last year. So it's been about a year now that they've been on the job. And I wanted to see what your take was on the job that they've done so far, the moves that they've made, whether it was the Billy Donovan hire, Pat Williams being taken as the fourth pick, and then obviously the upcoming the trades that we just had at the trade deadline to get Vucevic and some of these other pieces that came in. So how would you evaluate, in your opinion, the job that AK and Eversley have done so far with the Bulls over this year?
I think they've done a fine job. All the moves that you mentioned, all of them have worked. Pat Williams, Garrett Temple, Billy Donovan, even Denzel. I mean, he's played relatively well at times. He's up and down and inconsistent, as we know. But they took a lot of heat for that qualifying offer they gave him, and he's going out there and contributing in needed ways a lot of times. So I just think a lot of what they've done has worked and put this franchise back on the right track. I just saw, I think it was Rob Schaefer with NBC Sports Chicago, who tweeted something about the record or the pace that they're on compared to last year. They're only one game better.
Yeah.
Which is kind of scary when you think about it.
That hurts.
All this excitement and enthusiasm, and they're not much better than in certain ways than they were last year. The trade deadline moves, as you guys know, I just wrote about that this week, and I'm really surprised that they did get as much praise as they did for that, because they mortgaged the future for a 30-year-old two-time All-Star who's a win now type of player, and that could backfire, as I wrote. And if it does, suddenly AK and Mark Eversley aren't going to look so appealing. And I do think that that's only a matter of time before that happens, regardless, because this is Chicago, and I've learned that there's not a whole lot of patience. But they've done a really good job, and they've got this franchise back on the right track. And I think that's all you can ask for in their first 9-10 months on the job, whatever it's been.
To go with what you said that Billy is also a great thing that the front office has done. My question is, just from your point of view, is how do you feel like Billy is done with these rotations? I feel like he's been experimenting a lot, obviously due to injuries and things like that. But I just want to hear your opinion on it, because obviously there's a lot of, people that have been talking about it. So
I'm a little different, and this is a character flaw of me, admittedly. But it's hard to take a lot of what's happening this season seriously, just because of the unique nature of it.
Yep.
Now there are obviously things that you can glean and pick and analyze throughout this season. That doesn't mean you just throw it away. But I mean, with not having certain guys because of COVID or health and safety protocols or injury, or whatever the case might be, personal reasons, like whatever it is this season, it just really seems like a year that is really tough to evaluate in a lot of ways for those reasons. But there are some strange things, and I will say that going back to my Oklahoma City days, this isn't new. There have been criticisms of Billy Donovan and his game management skills, his rotations, adjustments or lack thereof in the past. So I've recently been asked about Billy Donovan more and more, but not even with this 6-game losing streak. I'm saying like weeks and months ago. And I thought that the attention would move to him a little bit more, maybe next year when the roster is filled out a little bit more. But it's starting to happen already, which I think is funny, guys, because I said in a column recently that the attention of Bullseye is going to be put on him, and I got killed for that.
You got heat for that.
But that's just how it is. And I think the more they lose games where they collapse, the more that they don't close out games, the more that they just come up short for all of these different reasons, you are going to have to look at Billy Donovan and his staff and say, what more could they be doing? And we're seeing it in real time at times, not bringing Zach and Vooch back in until 3 minutes and change the other night against the Jazz, playing Mark and then Tice Vooch Williams to get there's a lot of things that's already happening where you're like, okay, I can understand experimenting, but at the same time, you need to be trying to win some of these games. We just gave up 2 first-round picks.
Yeah. Now, do you think that is a little bit of him coming from college, where if a guy's having a bad game, send him a message, you sit him on the bench? You think he still struggles with that a little bit, where it's the NBA, we need this guy on the floor even if he's having a bad game at the moment? Do you think that maybe is some things that he's fighting with still, or?
No, I do know that people who have been close to his teams at the NBA level have complained about him having some college coach tendencies.
Yeah.
But I do think that is a little bit of low-hanging fruit
Mm-hmm. Yep.
And for the people who are close, I mean, they could be upset with something that he did.
Yep.
But I've heard that criticism. It is out there. I do think that some of that has, first of all, when he got to OKC, he had to cut that out immediately with the stars that he had.
Yeah.
He couldn't do that. He couldn't coach Russell Westbrook and Kevin Durant like that. Here you can maybe do that a little bit more.
Yeah.
A lot more. But I don't think that's what he's doing. I really do think he's trying to do what's best for the Bulls. And I've always been a Billy Donovan proponent, probably a lot more than others. But again, some of what we've seen this season is just only so much blame can be put on the players.
Right.
Yeah. That's interesting because, we went from Jim Boylan, who I know you had a lot of famous quotes that you loved by him. And every time we get 35 assists, I tag you and tell you about it because I know that was your favorite Jim Boylan quote. The best part about that quote, I just got to say, is where he says, "I'm not just making this up. Like, I'm not just pulling this out of my rear end," which is exactly what he was doing.
I watched the film.
No one's ever. Yeah, I watched the film of the history of the NBA where no one's ever done it and no one's ever come close. And I think that this lottery-bound team can average 35. I couldn't believe it. But that's the thing. Billy Donovan has brought a level of professionalism and respectability. So he's such an upgrade over the last coach that I think Bulls fans gave him a pretty long leash, right? Hey, you listen to his post-game pressers, pre-game pressers. You may not like his reasons, but he has reasons and he'll articulate those reasons to you about why he does certain things, right? He even explained it with the Jazz where he didn't bring Vooch and Zach back until like 4 minutes left. He explained why he did that. And now you may disagree with why he did that and think, hey, you shouldn't have done this. It was obvious to anyone watching. But ultimately, you can respect the fact that he's got, solid reasoning behind it and he's willing to articulate that. Whereas Jim Boylan would just say, well, we got to play with more heart, or, I just really liked his spirit, or, he just has the Bulls across, like all the stuff that was just mumbo jumbo. Yeah. But as you said, Darnell, and you got heat for that article, but I was right with you. The focus as the team and talent gets better and the roster looks more like AK and Eversley want it to look like, the focus is going to be on the coaching and those rotations, those minute distributions, who's doing what, how he's playing them, the sets he's running. Those are all going to come more into the spotlight as we get closer. I thought, and this was something that I remember Casey Johnson and I think others saying at the time that he was hired was, hey, this isn't necessarily our championship coach, right? This is the coach that's going to get us from A to B. And we may have the other coach to get us from B to C or C to D. But this is the right guy, the right hire at the right time because has proven development and track record of this. But with the move to get Vucevic, we've jumped in the timeline, in my opinion, because Vuce is 30, approaching 31. Zach is 26. Pat Williams is 19. The timelines for those three, if those are your three stars, is not the window there for that to be successful is very, very small, in my opinion. And I think Vuce will age gracefully on the offensive end, but defensively, he's already basically limited to just the drop coverage at this point. Maybe some zone, he can do some, but he's not super agile as it is. And so I think, this timeline is going to put a lot of pressure on Donovan now and AK to get the right people in and Donovan to put them in positions to succeed. And I don't know about you, but I was really encouraged at the beginning of the year because I thought Kobe, was being challenged to become a better point guard. Lowry was being challenged to be a better rebounder, to, move more in the offense and diversify his offense a little bit more instead of just being a spot up 3-point shooter. And Wendell was given more responsibility to pass in the high post and, have a little more offensive freedom. But none of them have really done anything with it, as we've seen. Like, none of them have really developed in the way that we wanted them to. And so I think you're 100% right there, where the focus is going to come on Billy Donovan. And I think that the Vooch trade, as you mentioned, just an article that you put out, I think it was in the last day, even I read it. That's going to put the focus on this timeline now. It's super short and it's a risky move. And I think it shouldn't have been as highly praised as it was because it is 2 first-round picks in at least this draft, which is going to be a pretty nice draft at the top, at least, and we're in position where we could do something. So, sorry, I went off on my own little tangent there, but I think your articles were spot on. It's funny. I like Billy Donovan. I think I'm with you that the rotations don't bother me as much. I knew going into it that he was an experimenter in the regular season with that kind of stuff. And he's done some really nice things. Stefano has been really good at pointing out his out of timeout plays on defense, especially. He'll switch up the coverage sometimes to blow up their plays. He's done some nice things. He's got some good game management and X's and O's. But every coach comes with their warts, right? Every coach got their good stuff and their bad stuff. So I think you can criticize I think you can criticize his weaknesses while still being able to put it into perspective. His overall resume as a coach, which I think has been pretty positive.
Put it this way: there's a reason why when he left OKC, no one complained. No one like poured out one for Billy Donovan when he left the Thunder. He was there for 5 years. He served his time. He did his best. They moved on. They wished him well. And there's a reason, I put out a scouts take type piece in right before the season started, and none of the scouts that I spoke with were really high on Billy Donovan. I mean, the reputation is kind of out there that he's okay, but he's not like going to take you from good to great or from great to champion, and that was okay when Billy Donovan was hired because everyone knew that this roster wasn't that roster. So the fact that the Bulls weren't ready for that, it seemed like it was an okay hire. But, I even wrote he couldn't be considered a home run hire because he had lost in the first round the last three seasons. So, again, when there's a track record, when there's a history, you have to look at him. I don't think that there's any way that you can't.
Yeah. To my last little question about the drop coverage. Now, I'm not asking this because, you watch the game, you see us in the drop and they score a lot. But in terms of NBA wide, do you think the drop coverage will at some point have to be taken out of the game?
I mean, I'm just watching how Vooch was playing it against Mike Conley and Donovan Mitchell the other night. And I'm like, this is going to get them torched every time. This is like practice. And I'm not sitting up here pretending to be an X's and O's wizard.
Yeah.
I talk to the people in the industry to get a better feel for what's going on.
Yeah.
But with that said, certain things you can just tell that this isn't sustainable. And and that's how it feels with that. But I'm hesitant to be too critical because we saw what blitzing and being aggressive did last year and how many layups and corner threes that gave up with simple basic ball movement and making an extra pass. So I think it's just hard to play defense in the NBA these days.
Yeah,
that's true. That's true.
And Larry and I talked about it, harped on this a lot, but I think there's no one coverage that's going to be successful all the time. That I think what's going to be successful is you being able to adapt your coverages to the offense that they're running. And I think that's the risk that you run by bringing in Vooch, who is not very versatile defensively. He can't run a lot of different coverages. Whereas Wendell, who got a lot of heat, he always got blamed for Kobe and Zach and everyone else letting people right in the lane. But he was actually really, really good as an individual defender, as far as a pick and roll defender. He allowed the 7th least amount of points among all the bigs that were involved in those things. But he got a lot of heat for that. But he could run a blitzing scheme. He could run zone. He could do an aggressive drop. He could do hedging. You see Thad can do a lot of that stuff too. But Vooch, who is now going to be one of your centerpieces of the offense, he's a lot more limited defensively. And I think, as you mentioned, you watched Donovan Mitchell and Mike Conley just chop him up. And they played a pretty good defensive game, I would say, last night. And they still, I didn't think they were ever going to win. I just didn't think that it was gonna come. And it's only going to get worse, I think. So there are a lot of risks to this move. And I think I I was a bigger believer, I think, in Wendell Carter, and Laro, I think, is with me. But
Yeah.
I think he got a lot of heat that he didn't deserve, and he was better than what he was showing or what he was given. But those are the types of moves you got to make to get an all-star. You got to put in a piece like him and some picks. So we'll see what happens. We don't want to pick your brain about these Bulls because we hear about it all the time.
Right.
We see your articles. So if you guys have not subscribed to Athletic, you guys got to. I mean, Darnell's putting out some really great work. But we got some other questions for you before we let you go. I know we're a little over time already, but I actually wanted to ask you just one more question about the Bulls. If you were the GM of the Bulls this offseason, what would be your number one priority as far as bringing someone in? And it's a loaded question, I know, so you can take your time to think. Like, what do you think this team needs the most that we can address in the offseason?
I hate to beat a dead horse, but a point guard. I mean, we can all see how much a facilitator would help everyone.
Yeah.
And I'm not gonna just be Lowry marketing would benefit. No, everyone would benefit from someone who knows how to run a team. And that's not a knock against Kobe White. It's not a knock against Tomas Satoransky. And even at times in spurts, Zach and Denzel and Pat Williams have shown the ability to run pick and roll.
Yeah.
Those guys are okay. That's not what you want a steady dose of for 48 minutes or for 32 minutes, whatever. And I just think if they can find, I don't know the name. It's funny, I was talking to a writer the night before the deadline. I think it was the game before the deadline. I was walking out with another writer from the game. And
against the Cavs?
Yeah. And the writer was saying, I asked two writers before I left, do you think they do anything? They both said no. And they asked me, and I said, yeah, you got to do something. Like, there's too much dead weight on this roster.
Chicago was rioted.
Like, I said, they got to get rid of Otto. They said, well, who you gonna trade him to? I said, I don't know. It's like, I'm not the one making those phone calls. I'm not in on those conversations. But just from covering this league for as long as I have, I've seen that type of situation, and it just didn't feel to me that he was a guy that they could keep. And if you could move him and get something for him, now his salary obviously was used to get Vooch. And I didn't know that was out there, but there is a play. There's always a play in this league.
Yeah.
And whether that's a Mike Conley or Malcolm Brogdon or Alonzo Ball, whoever it is, who I'm not really high on Alonzo Ball, by the way, but he'd help. And whoever they can get along those lines of that ilk, I think will help this team tremendously.
I got one more, and this is more of a fun one. You know what I mean? And I'll tell you who kind of gave me an alley-oop on gave me the oop on this one after this. But
y'all did your research. I can see, man. Like, this is impressive.
Hey, man, you coming on? We gotta be ready, man. We don't want this to be just the same old. Man, it's 30 minutes, man.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? We want you to, But if we had
going with this one,
if we had Rod Strickland as our point guard, how many more wins would this Bulls team have?
I mean, Rod couldn't shoot. That's the only problem. Like, Rod, in this era of basketball, Rod would be a liability, man. Like, you got to shoot. But he was a facilitator. How many more wins? I mean, I don't think they blow that Suns game. I don't think they blow the Spurs game. I don't think they blow the Portland game. And there's one other one in there I'm missing, Denver. So that's 4 right there.
Now I'll tell you who actually told me, Chris, to ask you this. It was Stephen Mel. He said that was your man. So
he said Rod's your guy.
Yeah, I'm a big Rod Strickland fan, man, but he couldn't shoot. He couldn't shoot a lick.
We got a lot of shooters on this team.
What's that?
We got a lot of shooters on this team, though. I think shooting is one of our strengths somehow. Denzel's letting it fly. Lowry, Vooch, they're all doing pretty good. Zach, obviously Zach has been unreal this season. But there's some of like you mentioned, you just listed 4 or 5 losses off the top of your head. of this team blowing something because of the lack of someone who can just get the team calmed down and not dribble the ball off your own toes. Like how many times have we seen Kobe and Zach and Denzel, who you name it, they've done it. And it's been kind of sad. It's so weird to see that you mentioned Rob Schaefer saying we're one win better than we were last year.
Oh man,
that blows my mind, because I feel as a fan that we've taken several steps forward in a lot of areas, but to have the wins not show for it at this point is a little bit depressing.
Yeah, man.
Oh man.
But hey, we do have one more thing. And I don't know if you can pull this up for us. I don't know if you remember writing this, but it's something when I was reading it, it stood out to me. And I just wanted to, on behalf of me and Chris, we just wanted to let you know, man, you are somebody in this city, man. And I'm pretty sure we can speak for every Bulls fan that's in this city, around the world. I mean, we're in the chat where we got a guy that's from Italy that's in there, and he reads your stuff, man. So it's like, we just want to let you know, man, we appreciate everything you've done since you've been here. And man, this is dope. But what the piece says is, I will admit the challenge here is somewhat daunting, meaning Chicago, because he's leaving Oklahoma City where his work was known, where he is known and was known, and coming to the city of Chicago where I'm starting all over as nobody. But I have enormous belief in myself and my new team at The Athletic, where I simply one of many who is hungry for success. But the nobody part is gone now, brother. You are somebody that everybody that's a Bulls fan, we want good information. We know, hey, Athletic, let me get that Athletic app. Let me go over to the search author, or but me, I got you on the front, so I'm cool. But you're dope, brother. And I just want to let you know that, man. You know what I mean? I don't know if Chris, if you got something to say, but
I mean, we just appreciate you a lot. I know sometimes as a writer, you're in the grind every day, and sometimes you may get sick of the team or sick of your job sometimes. At the end of the day, we're very grateful. And you said, and the reason I think I can still, I can say this with confidence is, you said you write for guys like us. You write for the readers, you write for the fans, and it comes through in your work, and we appreciate it. And so we loved having you on today. I know we kept you longer than we told you we would. So we appreciate you giving us your time on the Saturday evening right before Easter. So let the people know where they can find your work, other than that, if anyone doesn't know you at The Athletic, they're doing themselves a disservice, but let the people know where they can find you.
Yeah, man, we're at theathletic.com. It's a great paid subscription site. You get local and national coverage. I'm on Twitter at Darnell Mayberry. And yeah, man, we just hopefully the Bulls can turn it around and we can have a little bit more fun talking about these guys and talking about some wins instead of 6-game losing streak.
Man,
this
is crazy, man. And I mean, before we let you go for real, okay, like Lowry, I agree with you, brother. I just had to let you know I agree that he has to take another step. Maybe he can go to another scene, another place, and maybe things will click for him, Yeah. But
I hope so.
Yeah, man, we're on the same wavelength there. Just want to let you know that.
Gotta see it.
Keep firing the takes.
We gotta see it, man. That's my thing with Lowry. We gotta see it.
Right, exactly. I get it. Yep, I agree.
All right. Well, thanks, Darnell. We appreciate you coming on. We'd love to have you anytime you can, but I think Aldo's got some music to send you off with.
Maybe it'll help me write like a champion. We have to do it again for sure.
Definitely, man.
I appreciate you. All right.
Guys, appreciate it.
Wow. It was fun to watch it again. I want to thank Darnell again for coming on to the show. It's amazing. Got some some good information from him. Found out why he's not on a podcast, fortunately. But yeah, we got some good music. So great interview, I think, with him. Very grateful for him coming on. So now we've got some tape breakdown that we promised you guys last week. We've got some Tice and TBJ film. They've got another week on the Bulls team here, so we got some stuff going up. Lara, what do we got?
So, I mean, we just kind of wanted to take a little bit of look at a couple of the guys that should play a lot. I mean, we know that Tice is going to play a lot. He's in the rotation. But we'll start out with TBJ here. So this is back when he was with the Wizards, but I think some fans need to see what he can do. And this is him in the pick and roll here with Rui Hachimura on the left side of the floor. He comes off. He sees, I think that it was that Bamba, I think. I think that's Bamba that actually steps up and he just throws the oop over the top of for Hachimura to finish with a dunk. So these are some things that I believe that if he had some more playing time and a little bit more time learning the offense and what Billy is looking for, I think these are some things that he can bring. And the next clip here is him against the Nuggets here, and he's just showing his ability to handle the ball in the half court. He's just a guy that I believe, and I'm pretty sure Chris, you feel the same way. I know there's some guys in our chat as well that believe TBJ has some ability that he can help us offensively and defensively. Are there some things that you believe he can bring as well, or?
Yeah, and I want to say it's fun to believe in guys, and I always want to believe in guys. I always start in that kind of frame of mind when someone comes to the team. Is I believe in them and I root for their success, and I always do that, even if I don't think maybe the expectations will change over time. But I always want to try and believe in their ability to improve and to contribute to the team. So with TBJ coming in, there's a reason he got traded for as little as he did get traded. So there's flashes here of skills that he can bring to the team that are going to be positive impactors. He wasn't able to show those quite as much. He had a great time in the bubble with the Wizards. I think he really showed that playmaking ability that you just broke down here in this clip. But he can run the pick and roll.
Oh, yeah.
And he was a point guard earlier in his career. And we need a point guard, especially in that bench lineup with Kobe. Kobe's been more effective all year off the ball. Denzel is probably our best passer right now. But we've seen kind of how the offense is kind of up and down when he runs the offense because he's usually looking for his own shot is more than anyone else's shot a lot of times. So I think TBJ could use some good minutes here with the ball in his hands. I don't see why not. I don't think it can be, well, I don't want to say that, but I don't think it'd be worse than what's being run right now. But
right.
He's clearly shown some flashes there, and I don't see why it wouldn't be something that we want to develop going forward. Because at this point, we've got our two all-stars. We need to develop our players and then bring some people in the offseason with the cap space and maybe the room exception, the mid-level exception we're going to have if we're an over-the-cap team. We have to develop the players we've got on this roster. So Kobe's got to develop. Pat's got to develop, and TBJ we've got now for another couple of years. We got to develop him, so we have to find his strengths. And I think offensively, as a point guard, you're going to find some things he's good at. Defensively is more where I'm worried.
Yeah,
Laro, as you know, he was told that defense was the thing that Donovan was going to lean on him for.
Exactly.
And in that Suns game, he got back cut a couple times. And had some fumbles there on the defensive end. And you notice he didn't play in the Jazz game yesterday.
Yep.
And so, I don't know if that's just, Billy's kind of been all over the place with rotations and guys have been in and out. So it may not be about that, but Billy needs him to step up on that end. And so defense, I think, is where he's really going to have to show something first before he goes anywhere else.
I totally agree with you. And I think that kind of goes back to our interview with Darnell, is that there are times where you look at his tactics during the game and you kind of see the college kind of feel to them because it's the NBA. You got to play your best players every single game and your best rotations every single game, if they have bad games or not, right? College, you may play Florida State one game, then the next game you play some Division II in a school, and you can sit a guy to kind of discipline him, But this is the next level, and this is the league where you got to play your best players at all times. And I understand him not getting any more minutes, but at the same time, he is a grown man. He's at the next level. You got to play him, because I feel like he can help Kobe in that second group. He can help him handle the ball. He can run some pick and roll. He can rebound the ball and bring it up the court and get into the offense and make the right reads. There are some clips that I have coming up here that kind of show you that. But I think more that I was kind of excited about Billy, and I still am. I'm not hating on the guy. I'm not saying he's horrible, but I will say that you can tell the difference when you watch a game. When you're a fan of a team, you watch them daily. I would see Billy every now and then on ESPN or TNT, and I would love what he did. But now that I'm seeing him every day, you kind of see, kind of like what Darnell was saying about what the criticisms were for Billy, is his rotations and how he can get wacky with his lineups. So there are definitely some things that are growing in terms of my irritation towards how he goes about it. But we can go ahead with this clip here. This one is actually I broke this clip down for Tice. So some of the things that Daniel brings is he's an anchor on defense. He's a pretty good rebounder, and he can block some shots. But in this particular play here, we have Pat against the Golden State Warriors coming off a screen from Tice on the left side of the floor, and he got Wiseman to commit, and he threw the ball over the top. And for someone that didn't see Tice play a bunch, I didn't know he had this type of leaping ability in his arsenal. I didn't know he could go up there and get it and flush it down with one hand like that. That is something that I did not expect, but it's a beautiful sight. So knowing that your big can do that, your backup big, I think that is amazing to have somebody that can come in with that second group, because defense is our problem as a whole. And to be able to have a guy that you can, when you need to sit Vooch for a little bit, you got a guy you can trust that's going to at least give you going to be a great anchor for your defense in that second group.
Absolutely. And we got to remember that Tice came in as a starting quality center for the Boston Celtics, who are a playoff team. And he can run multiple coverages. He is versatile defensively as a 5 and can also play some 4 defensively. So I don't see any reason why. I mean, we got to lean on Tice as much as possible.
Right.
I think more Tice, more Thad, more Vooch. It should be your main 3 guys at the forward spots. And Pat, I think, should be that 4th guy. And obviously Lowry's still with the team, and he can provide shooting. But I think from a defensive standpoint, those are the guys that are really going to be able to make a difference defensively for us this year.
Yeah.
Just a quick thing about TBJ is, we shipped out Otto Porter, we shipped out Chandler Hutchison. Garrett Temple's out with that ankle injury still, if I remember correctly. So, there's no reason for Billy not to play him. We need help on the wing. We need the size, and perimeter defense is something that you and I have harped on all year as one of their biggest weaknesses, because they're letting guys right into the paint, and then everyone's complaining about the centers not being able to do 2-on-1 every single play. So TBJ does have the quickness and the length to be able to guard on the perimeter. Now, will he do it on a consistent basis? We don't know, but you got to play the guy. You got to put him in that situation and see what you've got. And as Daniel mentioned, he's only 21. He's got some time to prove it, but Billy's got to put him on the floor. And so I hope that what we saw with the Jazz game with him is not what we're going to see in the future, but we'll see. But Tice, I agree with you completely. Tice is going to be a really key addition, and I'm already hoping that they're going to use some money to bring him back next year. I don't know what we're going to do if Daniel Tice is not on this team. He's only been here a few games, and I'm already saying I don't know where our defense is going to be, because we shipped out Wendell, we shipped out Gaff. Vooch is not, he's an adequate defender. He can hold it together when surrounded by good defenders.
Yes.
Same as Zach. I feel the same way about Zach. But if Zach and Vooch are your best defenders on the floor, you're in trouble. And if we don't have someone like Tice, if we don't have someone that like TBJ or someone like Garrett Temple that can hold it down around them, then we're not gonna fulfill any playoff dreams whatsoever.
Yeah, and it's funny. Which I mean, every time he's on the floor, you're just confident as a fan watching the game. You're confident that he is going to be in the right spots, because if you really watch closely, he talks nonstop on that end. He said it himself. Like, that's what he's going to bring. He's going to talk. He's going to communicate. And I truly believe that's what he's going to do, and he's going to continue to do, because you can kind of tell if you're really good at reading lips. So, but it's really great. Tice is. Anyway, let's get on to the next clip, because we can go on as long as we want to about that guy. But we have a clip here on TBJ. And what I love on this clip here against Golden State is his anticipation, his ability to get into the passing lane and kind of lull the passer to sleep, thinking that he's not paying attention. And he just, like a cat-like quickness, he gets right into the lane and picks it off. And so he's actually guarding Nico Mannion on the left wing, slot, if you would like to call it. And I believe that's Damian Lee coming around out from the right side of the floor. And it seems like he doesn't think TBJ is paying attention, but TBJ is in the right position, and he gets right in the lane, gets a steal, and he goes to finish at the rim. So I just think these are things that we don't see enough. I do think that this is something that he can bring. He is someone, if you've watched him with the Wizards, he likes to get in the passing lane. He likes to get in the pass lane and take it to the house and put it down, So that's just something I like about him. How about you, Chris?
No, I agree. I think this is what you want to see in the perimeter defense. Now, you don't want to gamble for steals all the time, but if you can play the passing lanes like he does, where he can guarantee transition offense and blow up the play before it can even start, right?
Yep.
So many times we're trying to backpedal on defense at the point of attack because we're not getting into guys initially. They're too comfortable in the pick and roll, and they're just running their sets all day. Yeah, you saw that with they were trying to do it with the Jazz the other night. They were switching up coverages based on whether or not Vooch was in the pick and roll. I think it's something that Stefan No pointed out.
Yeah.
And so, I think it was, if Vooch was in the pick and roll, they brought their guys from the corners in a little bit more to kind of make up for that defense. And if Vooch wasn't, then they kept on their mans and they kept out far. So they need more stuff like that, where they can pressure the defense and make them uncomfortable in their sets and not allow them to get to their spots. And so TBJ, if he can do that on any consistent basis, that'll make him our best perimeter defender, which is not a high bar right now.
Right.
As you know, I think Garrett Temple has clearly taken that mantle all year. He's been a very solid defender for us.
Yes, he has.
But he's 35 and he's a free agent at the end of this year. So TBJ has a chance to step into that role coming into the end of the season and the season that's coming up here. So both great clips, just kind of little treats about what I think he can do, what we think he can do. I think we got more as well.
Yeah, this is TBJ again here. Look click. So this is something that I mentioned before. This is something that I believe he can do on a consistent basis, and he can read. Something that people don't understand is basketball can be a simple sport if you have the right guys. And some people that don't watch basketball a lot, and they hear he can dribble, pass, and shoot, and then some people may say, well, isn't that what basketball players, aren't they supposed to be able to do that? And when you get to this level, you'll be surprised that there are guys that are specialists at certain things, and then you start to get to that next level when you get guys that can do all three of those things, and you see how important they are. So be able to get a 6'7" guy to grab the board and be able to handle the ball and push it up the floor and make the right read to get into the offense or find an open shooter, that is huge to get early offense and to get guys to get into your sets. In this clip here, we have TBJ against the Nuggets again. He gets the rebound, I believe, from Gary Harris jump shot here. And he's able to grab it. He pushes up the court. He kind of sets it up on the left side of the floor, and he actually finds, I believe that's Rui, I believe. No, that's not actually Rui. I can't tell who that is, actually. Can you tell, Chris?
Is that not really?
No, it's left-handed. I can't remember who that is, but it was I can't remember. Can't really make it out. But he finds him wide open for like a nice 15-foot, maybe 16, 17-foot jump shot. And these are things that, I mean, if you watch the Bulls and you see, I mean, you saw Kobe the other night. He pushes the ball over the court and he's just indecisive. He doesn't move the ball early enough, or he doesn't make the right read. And I believe there's a play where he got all the way under the rim and, tried to put it up, but it was too late. Those are things that you wouldn't have with TBJ. He's a very decisive passer. When he knows where he wants to go with the ball, it's very crisp pass. That's what I like about him.
Yeah, and you've heard this with Billy. Billy said this multiple times about Zach, in fact, where he says when Zach doesn't predetermine what he's going to do on the offense and he just reads and reacts, he's an incredible playmaker. I think Kobe suffers from that a little bit. You've seen him a couple times, I know we pointed out, where he will be running the pick and roll with Vooch, and Vooch, the play will develop where Vooch is open or he should pass to Vooch, but Kobe has already decided in his mind that he's going to the rim, and he ends up getting blocked. He's one of the highest blocked players in the NBA at the rim this year.
Yeah,
I think he's top 10 in the highest amount of times he's been blocked at the rim, and it's not because he's too small or he's not quick enough. It's because he's predetermining what he's going to do instead of reading and reacting. And so those are those natural playmaking skills that a lot of people have felt that Kobe has lacked, and we hope he'll improve upon, right?
Right.
TBJ has some of those skills, those natural skills. Denzel has them too.
Yeah.
Denzel's a naturally good passer because he's good at reading and reacting. Now, often he decides to shoot it anyway. He gets up his shots, but he has that natural playmaking ability. So TBJ, I think, has a chance. He's got some of that natural ability. If he can put it into a consistent, offensive production, that's a great find for us at the price that he's at.
Definitely. I totally agree with that. I mean, we need it, man. We need the help. So the next clip here is another TBJ, and I believe this is going to be the last clip here. Again, just showing things, because honestly, I don't think we haven't gotten enough of him yet. So I wanted to just kind of show what he can do here. And again, it's against Denver, and he's coming off a screen. And I believe that's Mo Wagner. I believe he comes off a screen from Mo Wagner on the left side of the floor and finds an Isaac Bonga cutting to the basket and he gets it off with his left hand. And right hand pass there. So he just reads the floor pretty well. He reads the defense. He can handle the ball again. He can play in some pick and roll just like he did here. And he found a cutter. And again, this is more stuff that we need done. We can't depend on Saddle doing it all game. He's going to have to sit on the bench. We can't depend on Zach as much as he's doing, scoring and passing out of that, out of it. He's one of the better pick and roll guys. I mean, if you really watch the Bulls every game, you don't want him doing it all the time because sometimes he can get a little lackadaisical with his decisions. So, I mean, having another person that you can run pick and roll out of and take advantage of some matchups, this is something we got to get him on the floor. We got to get him on the floor.
Completely agree. Salim makes a good point here. Interesting that all the lineup experimenting play he's done this year, he says, has not gone to DBJ at point guard.
Mm-hmm.
I think we'll see it before the end of the year. I hope so. Mm-hmm. But we'll see. We'll see. Yeah. So I think these guys can both bring a lot to the team. I think Tice is an immediate positive impact on both ends. You've seen him go out to the three. He shoots, I think he's been shooting 33, 34% this year, which is serviceable enough. I don't think he's made one yet on the Bulls. I think he's missed all of them so far. But
I think I think he made one against the Spurs.
Did he make one?
He made his first shot was a catch and shoot from Thad, I think.
We'll have to check on it. But yeah, I think he can be an immediate impactor on offense and defense. But yeah, TBJ, you know, he's going to be a work in progress, but I think he's got some skills that the Bulls could really use, which is defense and some additional playmaking. So Billy's got to do it. And Daniel says, you know, maybe Denzel will piss off Billy Donovan at some point where he won't play him, although he's still playing him so far.
I know.
As Darnell said, I appreciated Darnell saying that Denzel has been serviceable at times. He's been up and down still, but I think fans give him a little bit too much guff for what it is. We know what Denzel is, and he can be a contributor. He can be a rotation player, you know, on this team, at least at this point.
I mean, he does do, you know, he is serviceable, but he does do some things that can frustrate you, you know. But again, he's played when he's been asked, he's played pretty well. Yeah,
I agree. So I think that's going to be it for tonight. Thank you guys for staying up a little bit later with us tonight. I know we were having some technical difficulties earlier. We want to make sure we had that Darnell interview on and ready for you guys. So thanks so much for staying up. Appreciate you guys commenting. Appreciate Darnell for coming in and being on the show, and for his time and his great work. Go check it out at the Athletic. As always, you can follow us. I'm at KLA Hoops. Laro is at _Laro Hoops. We're presented by the Barroom Network. Thanks to Aldo for handling all the technical stuff today, and we'll see you guys next week.